I've never made the claim that what I'm talking about is like what other people are talking about.
Jordan Peterson says he believes in God. But what kind of God exactly?
Do you believe in God?
What do you mean by God?
Who is God, then?
I don't think I've ever heard you give a definitive answer.
Now, I've seen Jordan being asked before, are you a Christian? And when I was a Christian, the answer would have been yes. Would you like to know more? In his situation, when he's asked, it's a hemming and hawing, it's a dancing around, and that's a difficult thing to address.
So, how does Peterson typically respond when asked if he believes in God?
I've answered in various ways. No, but I'm afraid he probably exists. No, but I'm terrified he might exist. That would be a truthful answer to some degree, or that I act as if God exists.
Peterson dislikes being asked this question because he considers it private and personal. There is another reason.
It's an attempt to box me in. And the question is asked so that I can be firmly placed on one side of a binary argument. The reason I don't like to answer it is because A, I don't like to be boxed in, and B, because I don't know what the person means by believe or God. And they think they know. And the probability that they construe belief and construe God the same way I do is virtually zero.
If you said, I do not believe in God, most people would understand you perfectly. But for Peterson, these terms are not self-evident.
What do you mean by believe? Like, do you think that a statement about the existence of God is something like a scientific theory? Do you think it's a list of facts? Is it a factual question? Does God exist or not?
Do you think that any one of you are capable of fully articulating what you believe? 99% of your processing is unconscious. You're not capable of articulating yourselves. If you were, you'd be omniscient.
When pressed to explain what he means by God, Peterson describes a God that most Christians would struggle to comprehend, let alone recognize.
Well, I'm going to tell you some of the things that I mean by God. Part of the conception of God that underlies the Western ethos is the notion that whatever God is expressed in the truthful speech that rectifies pathological hierarchies. And that isn't all it does. It also confronts the chaos of being itself and generates habitable order. That's the metaphysical proposition. And that's best conceptualized as at least one element of God. God is how we imaginatively and collectively represent the existence and action of consciousness across time, as the most real aspects of existence manifest themselves across the longest of time frames, but are not necessarily apprehensible as objects in the here and now. God is that which eternally dies and is reborn in the pursuit of higher being and truth. That's a fundamental element of hero mythology. God is the highest value in the hierarchy of values. God is what calls and what responds in the eternal call to adventure. God is the voice of conscience. God is the source of judgment and mercy and guilt. God is the future to which we make sacrifices and something akin to the transcendental repository of reputation. God is that which selects among men in the eternal hierarchy of men.
If there's one thing that makes an otherwise engaging speaker such as Jordan Peterson painful to watch, it's his propensity for overcomplication and overinterpretation. But the bigger problem with having a very broad definition of God is that we soon realize we're no longer talking about the same thing.
I've never made the claim that what I'm talking about is like what other people are talking about. I mean, it is in some ways, but I've not made that claim, so I don't see why that's a justifiable criticism.
What the vast majority of people who ask Jordan Peterson this question want to know is this: does he believe in the existence of the God of the Bible? They aren't talking about his esoteric interpretation of what a God might be. So long as he refuses to provide a clear and definitive answer to that question, it's hard to see the conflation ending anytime soon.
Have I bet my life on God? Well, yes. Does that mean that I know that God exists? Well, how would I know? I can't know, and neither can anyone else. That's the thing. You can't know.
Fair enough. To believe in something in the absence of proof is, after all, the very definition of faith. A quality Peterson is certainly not lacking.
I'll stake my life on the proposition that God exists. How's that?
Depending on who is asking, Peterson's answer to whether there is a God can be yes. It can also be no. And it can be I don't know. If he's in a really bad mood, he might say, It doesn't matter what I believe because we are all too stupid to express ourselves meaningfully. And there you have it. Jordan Peterson believes in a God. Only one problem. It's his God, not yours.